Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I have bought a toy, which is exactly what it is. It's a toy. There's no name, and I don't remember the name, but you can buy it at Walmart, but it is a kid's toy. So it's not the easiest thing to play with, but I can make neat little things. So I made this as a little sparkly, but it's one of them twisted headbands. This is 16 inches, so it will fit, you know, a toddler, a kid, probably up to at least 6 or 7 anyway. So that's what we're gonna do today. Now there's a few things that when I'm using this, because it's a toy, this handle, even though it seems really nice now, oh, see, it binds. So it binds up. You can hear it. And it's kind of annoying. So I use my finger and I help move the machine, because these little toys are not meant for the yarn that I use. So it struggles to do a 4-weight, and you can't put any tension on it. This is a 4-weight worsted, and it is sort of bulky with the sparkles and stuff like that. So you're going to notice that I'm going to be using my finger, and I'm going to be helping it turn for the most part, because you have to with this machine, and I don't want you to hear this noise all the time. So I have this C-clamped down to just a little table, and on this bottom part I have to put my feet up to hold it still. So they're not the easiest machines to work with, but they do make nice stuff, because I mean, I made an adult size one too. You can do an adult size one. It's just thinner than most that you see, but it covers my ears, and it fits my 21-inch head. So that's what we're going to do today. Just giving you a heads up. If you see my, I'm doing this, that's why it is, because I don't want it to bind. So now these pegs are all white, except for this. Oh, see, it's binding already. There's nothing in it. Keep in mind, this is a toy. There's ones that they sell on Amazon or wherever you can buy. Loops and Threads has one that really actually doesn't have very good reviews. The Addy Express, that's the most expensive one. You're looking at, $200 to $400 to buy one. That's a 48 pin, I think, is the $400 one. This is a 22 pin. It's a toy. I bought it from Walmart, online Walmart. I don't know if you can buy it in stores. I bought it online Walmart. It was on rollback, so I only paid $26 for it. But it was on rollback from 40 bucks. So considering everything and how cheap this was, I can't really complain. This has no counter, so you're also going to see me stopping. So I use my row counter, and I just wear it on my finger, and every 5th row, so I just count to 5, and then I hit my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Considering how fast it takes to whip up one of these things, I can do 5 rows in about 5 seconds. So that's all I do for having no counter. I have absolutely no counter. I have no tension thing, but you put any sort of a tension on this, and this is going to bind. Like, you're going to have to really just reef on it. So not the greatest machine to probably be doing a video with, but I wanted to do it anyway. So I don't always use scrap yarn to start. But certain projects you have to use scrap yarn. So this is not the color I'm doing. I'm doing the color purple. But I'm going to start off by using my scrap yarn to do this. So I'm not going to push it down. I'm just going to keep it under there's a little lip. So I'm going to go behind this one and in front of the next one, behind that one in front of this one. So you just go in and out. Every other one you put on the needle. See, it's binding already, and there's hardly anything in the machine. So that's why you're going to see me using my finger. But if you spend like money on a SENTRO, seems to be top of one of the top 10, SENTRO. If you look at a SENTRO machine, it doesn't bind much. Like if you spend money on something, you're not going to have to do what I have to do. So this little door here, I'm just gonna tilt it a little bit. So this little door just slides out. I gotta be gentle because it's just a piece of plastic. So I'm in behind this last hook, and there's my black guy. That's my starter. So I'm just coming to my last hook before the starter, and I'm going to drop it down into there, and then I'm going to close the door. No tension can be on my line. So this is just scrap yarn to start. So when I start turning, I have to make sure every single hook is grabbing that piece of yarn so that I'm not going to be dropping any. So the first row is usually binds a lot, but you got to go slow anyway because you got to watch to make sure each hook is grabbing a piece of yarn. So every single one grabs. So I think I'm ready to go, but I'm still using my scrap yarn. I bought these little thimbles to put on my finger so my finger doesn't get sore. Just silicone thimbles you can buy on Amazon. So now that you've got your first round on, oh, this is just scrap yarn, so I'm not counting the scrap yarn. So now you can speed up a little bit and you can go a little bit faster. So just make sure everything's going on properly, and if your scrap yarn, if it looks like you're missing, it's dropping stitches, just keep going with it until it looks like it's actually doing a good enough job. So it starts off looking pretty rough because there's no tension on this. Another reason why we like to use our scrap yarn. I'm going to stop right there. I've got a little bit of scrap yarn left. Hope you can see that okay. So I'm going to add my purple, which is the color of my thing. Sorry, let me get around. I don't know where my black hook is, but anyway. So I'm going to take this off, and it's wrapped around this hook right there. So I'm just going to make sure that gets pushed down and stays in there. And then I'm just going to place it here because I want this next hook to grab it, but I want it wrapped around that same hook. So I've wrapped, I gotta pull my yarn out. So I suggest you pull your yarn out before and just leave a bunch laying around, because like I said, if you have a crap machine like mine, because any sort of tension. So I've put my purple around the same hook that I've got my last bit of white into my door. I'm going to close the door. Always remember to close the door, because if one of these hooks nails this door because it's open, they will break. So I am going to just hold down for a minute on my purple because I just got to watch. Of course it's not going to turn now. I just want to make sure everything's going to do what it's supposed to do for the first couple of turns, and it looks alright. Now some people like to come along and tie these two pieces together, but I think I'm okay. I've never tied the two pieces together and nothing's ever happened that's been horrible. So now I'm going to start counting to 5 and then marking on my marker. If your table's moving around, you could potentially lose pieces. So this gets very staticky. I like to use my downy and I put it here so when I'm pulling, cuts down on the static. If you buy an Addy, you're gonna notice that your counter is not gonna work because the static screws it right up. So I just use a downy sheet, even though I don't have a counter that's gonna get messed up. I'm at 46 rows and my camera hasn't even shut off yet. It's been probably, well, it's been 6 minutes. So I just did like 20 some rows in 6 minutes. You can't do that when you're knitting. So it's pretty fast. So once it starts to get kind of bunchy down here, you can just kind of scooch it out the back or the side or whatever. Just so that it doesn't get all bunched up. You can also buy weights to hang off of here. I get my weights. I have bought these potato chip thingies from the dollar store that when I do really long stuff that hangs down past my table, I just clip this to the bottom and it helps weight it down so that you don't get skipped stitches or anything. So just an idea. So I have one more row and then I'm going to add my that's one more row, so that's 75 rows. And then I'm going to add some more scrap yarn. Find my scissors first. So you can cut your yarn off, but please cut enough that you can use for sewing later, because you need to sew these two ends together. So pull your door open. And you can bring this off and keep it wrapped around this white one. This is your black one. I know it might be hard to see. So you can just drop that down into the middle. And then add scrap yarn, which should be contrasting color to what you're using so that you can identify it. Again, I'm going to wrap my scrap yarn around that white one. And I'm going to put it into my little chamber and close the door. So now I just want to hold everything because I just want to make sure that this is, of course, likes to bind. Make sure my needles are gonna catch this blue as well. And I just like to push them down to make sure they're going into place, because sometimes they just don't. So I'm just going to take my scrap yarn and I'm going to do probably 5 rows or whatever I've got. I use my scrap yarn over and over again, so I'm just going to use up what I got here. You don't have to do this many rows of your scrap yarn, but you're taking it off. Mine just happens to be long because I think when I was using this before, I started my machine with this piece and it wasn't quite knitting properly, so I had to keep going around before I could add my second color. So I'm near the end of my line here and I'm just going to keep turning it. So even when the yarn runs out, when you keep turning it, this just pops off all by itself. So it comes off all by itself. Oops, and I just dropped it on the floor. So I'm going to put everything away and I'll meet you at the craft table. Alrighty. So, making sure that your two ends are off to the side here. What you want to do is take a crochet hook. We have to close this top up, and this is why we want to use contrasting colors because you want to be able to see what you're doing. So we're just going to go into the purple loops, picking up only the purple loops, and you're going to pull this one through this one. This is just slip stitching. It'll hold this a different way. So each purple loop, try not to pull tight because you will lose them. Each purple loop goes through the other purple loop. So we're just slip stitching at this point. And you're going to do that with every loop crisscrossing. So I'm going to come grab this one and I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to come across here. I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to slip stitch. This side's a little harder for me just because I'm right-handed. So once I get to the end, I'm just going to pull that through there, make a knot. So now that my end is sort of kind of closed, I screwed up closing it. So one of these ends is easy to take off than the other end. They're meant to cinch. So if you do a project, we'll do a project together where I show you how to just not use scrap yarn. You just do it a different way. This is meant to cinch clothes like that. That's what it's meant to do. But we don't want it to do that for this project, so it's kind of gets squirrely. You kind of just got to pull it apart any way you can. And I find sometimes I just end up cutting off the white because I get so frustrated trying to get it off. So I guess I closed my end up pretty good. So now we move to the other side after all that nonsense. This side is easier. So don't forget, so when you use a knitting machine, for some reason you have to stretch it all out and do weird things, which I'm not used to because you don't have to do that with crochet. But I've seen videos where people do this, so something to do with the stitches, relaxing the stitches or something, I don't know. So, I'm gonna get all twisted with my other one. So the other side is supposed to be easy peasy, which it has been for the most part. Find your purple, make sure your things are on the side here. And we do the same thing. We grab our purple loop and we slip stitch. I'm trying to show you properly on camera, but I'm not able to do what I'm trying to do easy enough, and I just look awkward, and then I just make the whole thing look awkward. But it's not really that bad when you're just doing it in person. It's just I'm making it look awkward because I'm trying to do it on camera. For the most part, if you screw it up, it can be fixed. It's not something that's not fixable. You know, you can always use your needle and sew. So, I just got a couple more. And then I'm just going to take my purple and I'm going to come through like I'm fastening off if there's any crocheters out there. So just come through and make your little knot. And now this one's easy to get off. And then you just pull the blue off. Oh, and I've managed to make a knot. So I will preferably, hopefully, get better at this scrap yarn business. But for now, for the video, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage because there, I got my two ends done. So only one of these ends needs a sewing end. They don't both need a sewing end, so figure out which end is your longest sewing end. And then one of those needs to get tucked away. So before I tuck it away, I just want to make a knot. So I'm just going to go in and then go through my loop, make a knot, and then you can just tuck it in between the two pieces of yarn. So it gets hidden in there, so it's not all the way through, it's in between the two pieces. Cut that off, and then you're done with that side. And then this side's going to be the side that you sew with. So once you've done stretching it out and everything, you're going to take this side and you're going to do that. Then you're going to take this side, you're going to stick that in the middle, and then this gets wrapped around like that. So just like that. So cup your two ends and then just stick them together like that. Now it's not really small enough to leave a gap, so you kind of just have to have them all together like that. And then you just sew your two ends. So I'm going to come across to start my sewing. Try to stay near the top of the work. And I'm just going to kind of whip stitch the first part of it. And then just staying at the top of the work, I'm going to go in and out and sew these two or all four ends together, back and forth. Now you won't feel this, and make sure you're going to do all of them. You're not going to feel this on your head. It's not like you're going to feel a big bump or anything. I made one that's adult size and I can't feel the bump. Plus if your yarn is soft enough. So when I come to the end, I'm going to do another whip stitch. So I'm going to come over to create a loop and do another whip stitch at the other end. And then I'm just going to do a small little wee knot. I'm going to pull back and forth to tighten that knot right up. And then I'm going to hide my yarn down in between the two pieces. Just like that. So now you just turn it right side over and you've got your twisted headband. Just like that. And that is how you do a twisted headband. That's a child size, so I mean, like I said, this is 16 inches. My measuring tape right in front of me. So I know this is kind of a rough way to measure something, but rough way to do it. But that's 16 inches. So when I did one for adult size for 21 inches, I went to 85 rows. So I just did the exact same thing, but I did it in 85 rows. So if that helps at all. Like I said, it's not as wide as an adult one's, but it still covered the top part of my ears. Maybe not the bottom parts, but the top part of my ears were covered. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.